Thailand is a long-time resident. There are also some relative newcomers. Among them, Jodi Ettenberg from Montreal, who's been in the country since March. She joins me now from Bangkok to explain. Okay, Jodi, you arrived in Thailand when the red shirt protests were underway. What brought you there in the first place?
I'd actually been traveling for approximately 2 years, or almost 2 years at that point. And I had just come from 6 weeks in Burma. My return ticket brought me back to Bangkok, and I wanted somewhere that I could sit and go through my photos and write about Burma a bit for my own personal blog. And Bangkok, with its great food and great atmosphere and very great energy, was the place I chose to settle down.
What did you find when you got there?
Well, the protests had just begun when I arrived in Bangkok, and I was actually quite curious about them. I went down to the rally site several times and took some pictures and put them on my own site just to share with my family and friends. And generally speaking, you know, they began quite peacefully, and you know, as you know, escalated to the point that they are now.
How has your life been impacted by that violence?
I've actually, I rented a room for a couple of months. I've got a return ticket now on June 15th, or I had booked it at June 15th. So my apartment that I rented was just a room near Victory Monument in an area called Dinh Dang, which turned into a live firing zone earlier this weekend. So it definitely impacted my life. I'm no longer in my apartment. I'm staying with a friend further north from where I was staying before. And from what I can tell from people who are still in their apartments or trapped there or via Twitter, there's quite a few fires that are raging around the city, one of which is in my area.
What do you mean it turned into a live firing zone? Describe the moment when you realized that was happening and what was going on around you.
I think it's very surreal to try and explain just how quick everything turned around, but essentially there were that area was not one of the main protest sites during the duration of the protest, but sort of turned into a flashpoint site, and it had been a site like that during last year's protest during the same time around Songkran. And essentially there were grenades that were being thrown, or Molotov cocktails, M79s in the area. You could hear them all night. They were responded with gunfire, and essentially the army and the red shirts that were in that area had a bit of a standoff, and basically the army earlier in the weekend put up signs that said live firing zone, and has made it clear they were using live bullets in that area. Ironically, they spelled the sign wrong, and it said life firing zone, which it's not escapist, all the irony of that. Essentially, yeah, there became a live firing zone, and some people were trapped in their buildings for the weekend. On Sunday, during a lull in the sounds of the grenades that I was hearing from my room, I took a small bag, my passport, a couple of items, and made a run for it.
Okay, so when our ambassador says he's not too worried about people who are there right now, do you agree with that?
I mean, at this point, there's a curfew in place, and there's no question that things seem to be more under control in terms of the rally sites. There are fires raging, however, and no one really knows which way that will go and whether it will continue. I certainly didn't feel terrifically safe in my area. You know, I left for that reason. I can't justify staying put, especially to my parents at home. But there's no question that when grenades are going off right near you, and as you're trying to hail a cab and there's gunshots being fired and things are on fire throughout your street, looking at the pictures of my street now, it's just been decimated.
All right. Canadian Jodi Ettenberg joining me from Bangkok. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. A Facebook page created to promote